What happens when a famous actress gets publicly humiliated in a trendy Los Angeles cafe by a social media influencer with millions of followers? Sandra Bullock just wanted a quiet morning coffee, but when an arrogant influencer decides to mock her age and career, the entire cafe falls silent. As customers record the scene on their phones, no one notices the man in the black jacket watching from the corner. But when Keanu Reeves steps forward, what happens next leaves the internet in shock, the influencer's career in ruins, and proves that real friendship can change everything. Kate Martinez wiped down the counter of her small cafe one last time before opening. At 55, she had owned the Morning Brew for 20 years, working every single day to keep her dream alive. The early morning sun streamed through the front windows, casting a warm glow on the antique coffee grinder her father had given her when she first opened. The cafe walls told her story through carefully arranged photographs. Her younger self cutting the ribbon on opening day, her daughter Amy's high school graduation, regular customers who had become family over the years. Each frame held a memory of better times, before rising rents and trendy chain coffee shops had started squeezing small businesses like hers. Kate checked her phone, something she did more often lately. The morning news showed another local cafe closing down, unable to compete with the social media darlings that dominated the Los Angeles food scene. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked at her own accounts. The numbers weren't good. Last month's rent had nearly cleaned out her savings. But Kate refused to give up. The Morning Brew wasn't just a cafe, it was her legacy, the dream she had built after her husband passed away 15 years ago. It was where Amy had done her homework after school, where she had learned to bake cookies using her grandmother's recipes, where she had grown into the strong young woman now studying at UCLA. Kate straightened her apron and checked the display case one final time. Her homemade pastries sat perfectly arranged. Cranberry scones, chocolate croissants, and her signature cinnamon rolls that still brought in regular customers despite the fancy new places opening nearby. The coffee beans were freshly ground, their rich aroma filling the air. Outside, early morning joggers and office workers hurried past. Kate's cafe sat in an increasingly trendy neighborhood, where old family businesses were rapidly being replaced by Instagram-worthy spots with neon signs and elaborate latte art. She had tried to adapt. Amy had helped her set up social media accounts and taught her about hashtags. But Kate believed success came from good food and genuine connections, not viral videos and influencer visits. As she unlocked the front door, Kate didn't know that today would test everything she believed in. She couldn't have guessed that in just a few hours, her small cafe would become the center of a social media storm that would change everything. She simply did what she had done every morning for 20 years. She turned on the lights, started the coffee maker, and prepared to welcome her customers with a warm smile and an open heart. The morning rush had just begun to slow when Kate noticed a shift in the cafe's energy. A group of young people walked in, phones held high, recording everything. At their center was Melissa, the social media sensation with millions of followers who had turned restaurant reviews into a weapon. Kate had seen her videos before, where she could make or break a business with a single post. Melissa wore designer sunglasses and a white outfit that probably cost more than Kate's monthly rent. Her perfectly manicured nails tapped away at her phone as she spoke to her followers, barely acknowledging the staff member who approached to take her order. The small crowd of followers around her giggled at every comment she made. Kate watched from behind the counter as more customers began filling the cafe, many drawn by the commotion. She noticed their phones coming out, waiting for something to happen. Melissa had that effect. People knew that where she went, drama followed. Her restaurant reviews weren't just about food, they were about creating moments that would go viral. The morning regulars shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Mr. Peterson, who had been coming in for his morning coffee for 15 years, frowned as Melissa's voice grew louder, her commentary about the cafe's dated decor and basic menu clearly intended for her live stream. Kate felt her chest tighten but kept her composure, continuing to serve customers with the same warm smile she always had. That's when Sandra Bullock walked in. She had been coming to the Morning Brew occasionally for months, always kind, always unassuming. She preferred quiet mornings, away from cameras and attention. Today she wore simple jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back casually. Kate had always appreciated how Sandra treated her cafe like a sanctuary from Hollywood's chaos. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Melissa immediately recognized the actress. Kate saw the influencer's eyes light up behind her sunglasses. This was exactly the kind of moment she lived for. Her followers pressed closer, phones ready, as Melissa adjusted her hair and prepared for what she clearly saw as an opportunity. Sandra stood in line, seemingly unaware of the attention building around her. She chatted quietly with Amy, who had stopped by to help during the morning rush. But Kate could see Melissa positioning herself, carefully orchestrating the moment that was about to unfold. The influencer's followers spread out strategically, creating the perfect angle for whatever she had planned. The cafe had become unnaturally quiet. Even the usual morning clatter of cups and saucers seemed muted, as if the whole place was holding its breath. Through the front window, Kate noticed more people gathering outside, drawn by the growing crowd of phones and cameras pointing inward. This was how things went viral now. A quiet morning could explode into an internet sensation in seconds. Near the back of the cafe, a man in a black jacket sat reading a newspaper, his presence almost unnoticed amid the building tension. Kate might have paid more attention to him if she hadn't been so focused on the scene unfolding before her. She had seen enough of Melissa's videos to know that the influencer never passed up a chance to create controversy, especially when it involved someone famous. The morning sun streaming through the windows caught the lenses of dozens of phones, all pointed toward the space between Melissa and Sandra. Kate wanted to warn Sandra, to somehow protect her cafe from whatever was about to happen. But there was no stopping it now. The incident that would soon explode across social media was seconds away from beginning, and no one in the cafe could have predicted how it would end. Melissa stepped directly into Sandra's path, her phone held high, live streaming every moment. "Oh my God, if it isn't Sandra Bullock! Though I barely recognized you. The years really haven't been kind, have they?" Her voice carried through the cafe, dripping with fake sweetness. The phones around them recorded every second as Sandra stopped, caught off guard by the sudden confrontation. Melissa circled Sandra like a shark, her designer heels clicking against the floor. "I mean, seriously folks, look at this. No makeup, basic clothes. Is this what happens when Hollywood forgets about you?" Her followers snickered, phone steady, capturing every moment of humiliation. Sandra stood frozen, her coffee order forgotten, as Melissa continued her calculated attack. Kate watched from behind the counter, her heart pounding. The cafe had fallen completely silent except for Melissa's voice and the soft sounds of phones recording. Amy, still beside the counter, gripped her mother's hand tightly. They both knew they were watching someone's private moment being turned into public entertainment. "Let's talk about your last movie." "Oh wait, when was that again?" Melissa's voice grew louder, playing to her audience. "You know, my followers probably don't even know who you are. They're more interested in real celebrities, people who matter now." She gestured to her own perfectly curated outfit. "This is what relevance looks like in 2025, honey." Sandra's face flushed red, but she maintained her composure. "I'm just here for coffee," she said quietly, trying to step around the influencer. But Melissa wasn't finished. She positioned herself to block Sandra's path again, making sure her followers had the perfect angle. "Everyone, this is what happens when you don't adapt to the times. Look at her, shopping at this outdated cafe, wearing clothes from Target. It's actually sad." Melissa's followers pressed closer, their phones capturing every moment of Sandra's humiliation. "I mean, I have more influence now than she ever had in her prime. My last post got more views than her last 3 movies combined." Kate felt her hands trembling with anger. She had watched Melissa tear down other businesses, other people, but this was different. This wasn't just about views or followers. This was cruel, calculated humiliation for entertainment. She started to move around the counter, not sure what she would do but knowing she had to do something. That's when the man in the black jacket stood up. His newspaper folded quietly as he rose, and something about his movement made the whole cafe turn. Melissa, still broadcasting, didn't notice at first, too caught up in her performance. "I mean, seriously, when was the last time Sandra Bullock was even relevant? Let's be honest, she's just another daft." "That's enough." The voice cut through the cafe like a blade. Melissa spun around, her phone still recording, and found herself face to face with Keanu Reeves. The cafe erupted in whispers as people recognized him. Phones that had been recording Sandra's humiliation now turned toward this unexpected development. Keanu stepped forward, his presence commanding the space. His voice remained calm but carried an undeniable authority. "Is this what you call content? Humiliating people for views?" He gestured toward Sandra, his longtime friend and co-star. "Do you even understand what you're doing?" Melissa's confident smirk faltered. She tried to maintain her composure, but her voice shook slightly. I'm just giving my followers what they want. This is how social media works now. She attempted to turn her phone toward Keanu, but he gently pushed it down. No, he said, his voice firm. This is bullying. This is taking someone's dignity and turning it into entertainment. The cafe remained silent, every phone still recording, but now the atmosphere had shifted. Melissa's followers began to step back, suddenly unsure about their role in what was unfolding. Melissa tried one last time to regain control. My followers she began, but Keanu cut her off. Your followers deserve better than this. They deserve to see kindness, not cruelty. They deserve to see real influence, not whatever this is. He turned to Sandra, who had tears in her eyes, not from humiliation now, but from the unexpected defense of her friend. The social media star's carefully crafted facade cracked completely. She looked around the cafe, suddenly aware that her performance had transformed into something else entirely. The phones were still recording, but now they were capturing her downfall instead of her triumph. Her followers had gone quiet, many lowering their phones, some even slipping away toward the door. The silence in the morning brew shattered as someone's phone notification buzzed. Melissa's live stream had already started going viral, but not in the way she had planned. Comments flooded in, condemning her behavior and praising Keanu's intervention. The influencer's perfectly curated world was crumbling in real time. Keanu stepped closer to Sandra, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. His voice remained steady as he addressed not just Melissa, but everyone recording. Social media has given us an amazing power to connect, to share, to influence. But with that power comes responsibility. He gestured around the cafe. This place, these people, they're real. They're not content. They're not stepping stones to more followers. Kate watched as tears rolled down Sandra's cheeks. Not tears of humiliation anymore, but of relief and gratitude. Sandra straightened her shoulders, finding her voice again. I've spent my career trying to bring joy to people, to tell stories that matter. That's real influence. She looked directly at Melissa. What you're doing? That's just cruelty dressed up as entertainment. The influencer's phone slipped slightly in her trembling hands. Her live stream continued, but now the comments were turning against her. Cancel Melissa started trending. Her follower count began dropping in real time. Someone in the cafe announced loudly that the video was being shared across every platform, but not as the takedown of Sandra Bullock that Melissa had planned. Instead, it was becoming a powerful statement about cyberbullying and online harassment. Keanu wasn't finished. He turned to address the cafe directly, his presence commanding respect without demanding it. Every one of you filming right now has a choice. You can use that phone to spread kindness or cruelty, to build up or tear down. He paused, letting his words sink in. The internet never forgets. Make sure what you're putting out there is something you'll be proud of tomorrow. Melissa's followers, who had been so eager to participate in the humiliation moments ago, began deleting their recordings. Some even stepped forward to apologize to Sandra. The tide had turned completely. The influencer stood alone now, her designer outfit and perfect makeup suddenly seeming like a costume rather than armor. Kate moved from behind the counter, finding courage in the moment. In 20 years of running this cafe, I've learned that real influence isn't about followers or views. It's about how you make people feel. She looked at Sandra, then at Keanu, and finally at Melissa. Every person who walks through that door deserves respect. The social media star's carefully constructed facade finally cracked completely. Her phone lowered, live stream still running, as she looked around the cafe with new eyes. She saw the regular customers she had mocked, the dated decor that held 20 years of memories, the basic menu that had provided comfort and connection to countless people. Outside, a crowd had gathered. News vans were pulling up, drawn by the viral moment unfolding inside. Melissa's perfect morning of planned content had transformed into a career-defining moment, but not the one she had imagined. Her phone buzzed constantly now, sponsors pulling out, collaborators distancing themselves, her carefully built empire beginning to crumble. Sandra stepped forward, surprising everyone. Instead of anger, her voice carried compassion. I remember being young and feeling like I had to prove myself, like every moment had to be bigger than the last. She looked at Melissa with understanding rather than judgment. But real success, real influence? That comes from lifting people up, not tearing them down. The cafe erupted in applause. Phones that had been recording humiliation now captured redemption. Keanu smiled slightly, stepping back to let the moment unfold. He had done what he came to do, not just defend a friend, but remind everyone in that cafe, everyone watching the live stream, that kindness was always more powerful than cruelty. Kate's cafe, which had been the stage for planned humiliation, had become the setting for something entirely different. A moment of genuine connection and change. The morning brew would never be the same, but perhaps that wasn't a bad thing. Sometimes it took a storm to clear the air. The aftermath of that morning spread across social media faster than anyone could have predicted. Melissa's live stream, which had started as an attempt to mock Sandra Bullock, became a powerful statement about online behavior. The video reached millions, but not for the reasons she had planned. News outlets picked up the story immediately. Headlines read, "Keanu Reeves confronts cyberbullying in LA cafe," and "Viral moment shows dark side of influencer culture." The Morning Brew, Kate's modest cafe, transformed overnight into a symbol of authenticity in an age of carefully curated content. Melissa's career imploded within hours. Her major sponsors, fashion brands, beauty companies, tech startups, all released statements distancing themselves from her. Her follower count, once a source of pride, plummeted. But more significantly, the incident sparked a broader conversation about responsibility in the age of social media. Sandra Bullock, rather than retreating from the incident, chose to address it publicly. In a thoughtful post that went viral, she wrote about the pressure to remain relevant, the fear of aging in Hollywood, and the importance of supporting rather than tearing down others. Her words resonated with millions, particularly women who felt the same pressures in their own lives. Keanu, true to his nature, declined interviews about the incident. Instead, he returned to the Morning Brew the next day, sitting quietly with his coffee and newspaper. His presence sent a clear message. This wasn't about publicity or gaining attention. It was about standing up for what was right. Kate's cafe experienced an unexpected transformation. People began coming not just for coffee, but to be part of something authentic. Young influencers arrived, but instead of mocking the vintage decor, they celebrated it. They shared stories about the homemade pastries, the warm atmosphere, and most importantly, the lesson they had learned about real influence. A week after the incident, Melissa returned to the cafe. This time, there were no phones recording, no followers in tow. She walked in alone, her designer clothes replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. Kate watched as she approached the counter, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," Melissa said quietly. "I got so caught up in creating content, in chasing numbers, that I forgot about real people." Her voice trembled. "I turned someone's dignity into entertainment, and I'll never forgive myself for that." Kate, remembering her own daughter's struggles with social media pressure, felt her heart soften. "We all make mistakes," she said, pushing a cup of coffee across the counter. "It's what we learn from them that matters." The incident sparked real change. Major social media platforms began implementing stricter policies against harassment and bullying. Influencer agencies started requiring training on ethical content creation. The Morning Brew became a case study in business schools about authenticity in the digital age. But perhaps the most significant change happened in the lives of those directly involved. Sandra Bullock became a vocal advocate for digital responsibility, starting a foundation to support victims of online harassment. Keanu's quiet act of standing up for his friend inspired others to intervene when they witnessed bullying, both online and in real life. As for Melissa, she did something unexpected. Instead of trying to rebuild her influencer career, she started working with youth organizations, sharing her story as a cautionary tale about the price of chasing fame at any cost. Her new content focused on promoting kindness and authentic connection in the digital age. The Morning Brew thrived, not because it went viral, but because it remained true to what it had always been, a place where people could find genuine connection in an increasingly digital world. Kate added one small change, a simple sign behind the counter that read, "Kindness is always in style." 1 month after the incident, Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves sat in the Morning Brew, sharing coffee and conversation with Kate. No phones recorded the moment. No posts went viral. It was simply 3 people, brought together by an unexpected event, sharing their hopes for a kinder digital future. 3 months after the incident that transformed the Morning Brew into an internet sensation, Kate stood behind her counter, watching the morning light stream through windows now decorated with small potted plants, gifts from customers who had become friends. The cafe had changed, not in its essence but in its impact. The Morning Brew had become more than just a cafe. It transformed into a symbol of authenticity in the digital age. Kate kept everything that made the place special: her homemade pastries, the vintage coffee grinder, the wall of photographs. But now, alongside memories of her family, new photos told the story of that pivotal day and its aftermath. Sandra Bullock became a regular, often bringing fellow actors for quiet mornings away from Hollywood's chaos. She started a mentorship program for young women in entertainment, hosting monthly meetings in the cafe's back room. The conversations focused on building genuine confidence in an industry obsessed with image. Keanu visited too, always unannounced, always choosing the same corner table with his newspaper. His presence reminded everyone that true influence didn't need announcement or attention. Sometimes he would talk with young influencers who came to the cafe, sharing wisdom about staying grounded in an ungrounded world. But the most remarkable transformation happened to Melissa. After her public apology and departure from influencer life, she struggled to find her place. Kate, remembering her own daughter's challenges, offered her a job at the cafe. At first, people questioned the decision, but Kate believed in second chances. Melissa learned to make coffee, to remember regular customers' orders, to find joy in simple interactions that didn't need to be recorded or shared. Her designer clothes gathered dust as she wore the Morning Brew's simple uniform with growing pride. She discovered that real connections felt better than viral moments. One morning, as Melissa trained a new barista, she overheard a young influencer planning to mock an elderly customer for views. Without hesitation, she stepped in. "That's not what we do here," she said firmly. "This is a place for kindness." The influencer, recognizing Melissa from her viral downfall, quietly put away her phone. Kate's daughter Amy developed a digital kindness program, using the Morning Brew as its headquarters. Young content creators learned about responsible social media use, authentic engagement, and the real meaning of influence. The walls that had once witnessed humiliation now echoed with conversations about positive change. The cafe's success grew not from trending hashtags or viral moments, but from its commitment to genuine human connection. Kate never raised her prices, never changed her recipes, never tried to make the place more Instagram-worthy. Instead, she focused on what had always mattered: making everyone who walked through her door feel valued. 1 year to the day after the incident, Kate hosted a special evening at the Morning Brew. Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves attended, along with regular customers, local business owners, and even some reformed influencers. Melissa, now the cafe's manager, served coffee with a quiet confidence that had nothing to do with follower counts. Sandra raised her coffee cup and addressed the gathered crowd. "A year ago, this cafe showed us that kindness is stronger than cruelty, that real influence comes from how we treat each other, not from how many people watch us do it." She smiled at Kate. "This place reminds us that in a world of filters and followers, authenticity still matters most." Keanu, typically quiet, added his own thoughts. "Sometimes it takes a moment of darkness to remind us where the light is. This cafe became that light for many people." He gestured around the room. "Every person who walks through that door now carries that light forward." As the evening wound down, Kate found herself alone with Melissa, cleaning up after the celebration. The young woman who had once sought to destroy reputations for views now took pride in creating a space where people felt safe and valued. "I never thought my biggest failure would become my greatest blessing," Melissa said, wiping down tables. "I learned that real influence isn't about followers or likes. It's about the impact we have on the people right in front of us." Kate smiled, remembering the frightened cafe owner she'd been a year ago, worried about competing with trending spots and social media darlings. "Sometimes we find our strength in the moments that threaten to break us," she replied, patting Melissa's hand. The Morning Brew's story became a testament to the power of authenticity in the digital age. It proved that kindness never goes out of style, that second chances can lead to beautiful transformations, and that sometimes the smallest places can create the biggest changes. As Kate locked up that night, she looked at her cafe with pride. The Morning Brew hadn't just survived. It had helped change the conversation about influence and authenticity in the modern world. In the end, it turned out that the most powerful influence wasn't about going viral or trending online. It was about touching hearts, one cup of coffee at a time.